So welcome, Iona, officially,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and Kenneth. Thank you for joining us.
Mm.
So, shall we just? Do you want to share anything else, or should we just dive into
I'm happy to dive in.
today's lesson?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just share my screen. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
So, I do not perceive my own best interests.
Mm. All right. Shall I read?
Yeah, please read the first paragraph.
In no situation that arises do you realize the outcome that would make you happy. Therefore, you have no guide to appropriate action and no way of judging the result. What you do is determined by your perception of the situation, and that perception is wrong. It is inevitable then that you will not serve your own best interests, yet they are your only goal in any situation which is correctly perceived. Otherwise, you will not recognize what they are. In no situation. Wow.
Hmm.
In no situation at all.
Hmm. It's quite it's pretty radical stuff. He's saying you actually don't have a clue about what's good for you in your life. You really don't know what your best interests are.
Yeah.
And it's to really accept this, because in the acceptance of this idea, you can then open yourself up to another thought system. But if you think that you know what you're doing,
Yeah.
we saw that yesterday, and then what's going to happen? You're going to go, no,
Mm.
like I'm right.
Mm.
Actually, I do perceive my own best interests.
Mm.
And he's saying straight out, he's not mincing his words here. What you do is determined by your perception of the situation, yes, because action, behavior comes from our thoughts and our perceptions. And that perception is wrong. Straight up, he's just telling us it's wrong.
Every time.
If you're in the ego, and he's addressing us, this is the beginning of the course. He's addressing us where we are, where we think we are.
Okay.
And where we think we are is an ego in the world. And so he's saying, well, that's just wrong. Your perception is wrong. If you think that you are caught up in the scrum, if you think you're a victim, you think you're a body sitting at the bottom of this ladder of separation, you think you're on the timeline of consciousness,
Mm. Yeah.
then you're wrong. Your perception is totally wrong, because what you're seeing is not true.
So today, today, I really worked hard not to go chasing off to the studio on a miserable, cold, rainy day. And I could feel that I wanted to take some time off because it's been quite, I've been keeping myself on a bit of a treadmill, making room for this course every day and attending to many things. And I really looked at this lesson and I thought, it's okay. Let's just see what the day brings. Don't go anywhere, actually. And we ended up seeing a woman this afternoon who has an amazing esoteric library full of the most extraordinary books. And Kenneth and I went to meet her, and she was really somebody to meet. Very, very anonymous little house and an anonymous little road. But inside, oh wow, what an energy, what a powerful place this little tiny house is. And we really made, I believe, a very meaningful contact. So if I had said, no, I'm too busy, I'm on a deadline, a self-imposed deadline, I believe I would have missed that. So I think it was, I believe I've made some good choices for myself today.
Yeah. And the good choice is simply not to play the same pattern over and over again. And if you're in a pattern, break it. I mean, that's not to say you're never going to paint again. Of course you are.
It'll be tomorrow morning, quite early, yeah.
But interrupt the pattern and say, okay, well, just take a day off.
Yeah.
And part of the benefit of what you're doing is you can do that. You've got flexible time.
Yes.
You're not on some corporate, treadmill where they're saying you have to work between such and such an hours. So you choose when you want to work.
Sometimes, yeah, I can feel guilty about how good my life can feel.
It's too good. Oh, it's too good.
So I can't believe it. I must suffer a bit more.
I must suffer a bit more. It can't be this good.
I can't be this good.
Oh, well, that's there we go. There's the program, isn't it? Guilt and sin.
Yeah. Guilty.
It can't be this good. I deserve to suffer. So, guess what? Then you'll create some drama and you'll create some suffering.
Oh, is there feedback? Oh, it's gone. I could hear really piercing feedback, but it's gone. But
yeah, I heard it. I heard it briefly as well, but hopefully not. Yeah.
Right. Create some drama so that I can suffer and really feel like I'm in the mix again.
Yeah, put you on, because then these two diagrams work out nicely together. Then you're on the timeline, aren't you?
Yep.
Drama on the timeline means I'm rooted to the character on the timeline, and I think that I am this character with all of these, all my past, my future, various traumas, various things to do, and this is where the ego wants to keep you on the red timeline, apparently going somewhere, going forward. But the only real progress in life is to go higher or deeper, whichever metaphor you want to use. In this diagram, it's higher, but you could equally flip the diagram and say, actually, you're going deeper.
Sure.
Into your mind.
Yes. I suppose, in the Course, Jesus is saying, go from the horizontal to the vertical. So I do think about it as upward.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you say deep in my mind, I also have that kind of physical awareness of going, ooh, like that.
Dropping into something. Yeah. So it's like the energy of, going deeper below the surface. So another way, I must draw this diagram as well, but there's a idea that we're all on the surface of life, and our sense perceptions want to keep us just on the surface, on the timeline, apparently trying to make progress. And then the ego defines progress as moving from one point to another. One point is not as desirable to another. It's desirable, and there's going to be time on that. So yes, I've got a goal. I've got a goal that I want to achieve. I want to do this. Okay, I'm going to move from here to here, and then I'll be satisfied. This is these are the ego's perceived best interest that he's talking about, the ego goals. And true spiritual progress, true progress is to go deeper. If you want to look at the diagram on it, like, okay, but you've got to go deeper into your mind. So below the level of the just sense perceptions and your normal kind of consciousness is your emotions. So your emotions sit below that. And most people don't want to go there because they're scared of that. They don't really want to dive into deep emotions. And this is what they've tried to avoid. In fact, the ego's external world is there as a defense against this emotional level because it doesn't want to experience those. So, it's easier just to distract myself with something external, with sense perceptions, rather than facing those difficult emotions. But true progress is to go inwards and go, okay, well, let me really look. Like you said yesterday, you need to be really honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Honesty is required because it's to really go and look and say, okay, so what am I really feeling?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And not fudge it, not go, no, well, I'll distract myself. No, okay, what am I really feeling about this? Mm-hmm. How does it really feel? So then you get into the emotional layer, and that's can take quite a while to deconstruct and get through. If you've got deep-seated dark emotions, I mean, guilt, fear, sin, it all it all resides there, and this is not nice. And the ego wants to keep you away from it. No, don't go there, whatever. Don't go there because there be dragons. This is not where you want to go, but it's where you have to go.
Yeah.
If you're going to take the hero's journey. So the hero's journey is to go through that emotional layer to get to beyond that. Let me just bring up the hero's journey diagram. I'm going to stick it in my next iteration of this course. I'm going to put it into the manual. We refer to it so often. It needs
definitely to be stuck though in that emotional quagmire. That's been my particular journey, is to a challenge is to don't wallow in all that emotional stuff. I can go there very quickly, or I could go there because I know I'm getting a wider awareness. I'm being really triggered by Kenneth when he's saying, are you in the drama of this again? It's not a drama, it's really real.
Yeah. Well, it's good you have an awake partner who's there to go, okay, just remind you. Okay. So almost another way of looking at the hero's journey is to go through the hero's got to go through at that emotional level. And they might physically be doing stuff, but it's to go through the challenges and temptations of their own ego, which resides, its seeming power lies in the emotional level. It's like these emotions are deep and dark, and it's like guilt and fear and attack thoughts. It's horror. They're not nice emotions to have to deal with.
No.
And they seem to have this power to like really, really control our minds and our state of mind and our being.
Yeah.
So the hero's journey, another way of looking is, well, it's the hero's ready to go through the emotional level. Go, okay, I'm going to face the demons, and the demons are not outside. The demons are within, in truth. So although I might seemingly face the demon like externally, like something comes and a challenge comes in my life, it's actually my own the ego and these deep-seated emotions that I'm facing.
Yeah.
And then to plunge through that, if you can get through the emotional level, then you get to the core belief of the ego, which is what we're trying to do with this naming your game process and the flipping your flop. Okay, so what is the core? And if you can see the core belief that sits below the level of emotion, and you can really see it objectively and see that this isn't serving you, and then root it out by saying, okay, well, I'm gonna let this go. This doesn't make any sense. Then all of those emotions can start dissipating. So, but because beyond the core belief lies source. It's just your own true self, your pure formless awareness. There's nothing else. So it's sense perceptions, emotions, core belief, and then below that you can get to the source. Again, I must draw this in a diagram because it's can be diagrammatically demonstrated quite well. And that's what we're doing with this process. It's to go into beyond the core belief into source, and then there's kind of this death and rebirth effect, which you experience. I mean, it was quite emotional on Sunday. It's like because you got to go through that emotional layer to get to core belief, to then release it, and that it can feel like a real workout. Emotions, it fires off all the biochemistry in your body, and chemistry and the sensations arising and so on, because the emotional level is what's actually running the program. The core belief is, but then the emotions are how that program operates. And so it's to undo all of that and get beyond it. And that's death and rebirth that they're talking about.
Yeah, it certainly caught me unawares again. Because thought I'd been through it a lot, but ready for more. Another layer being stripped off.
Yeah, well, it's this ego is persistent, extremely persistent. It doesn't give up easily.
No.
So you might need to cycle through this, a number of times.
True.
But every time you go through it, It's like okay, there's a cleaning, there's a clarity that comes at the other side of it, which is the transformation, and a greater sense of at-one-ment, and then a return to your known world and known life, but bringing something back with you, something that you didn't have before.
Exactly.
But it starts with this, to return to our lesson. Starts with the willingness to question everything. And actually, on that surface level, if I perceive my best interests are, this goal, like Richard was saying, I want to execute on my goals. Okay, so you perceive that's in your best interests, clearly, otherwise you wouldn't be trying to execute on the goal. But is it really? Are you sure? Can you absolutely, if you apply Byron Katie's work, it's quite nice questioning. Can you know that it's true? Can you really know that's in your best interests? And it makes you question. Can you absolutely know that it's in your best interest? Because just ask it again, question again. Say, can you absolutely know? And if you're really honest, you can't absolutely know. How do you know that that's in your best interest? Because you can't tell the future. You don't know what's going to happen. You think it is, but that thought is based on a belief system.
So it's all about
your belief system is wrong.
The idea that we don't know. I accept the idea I do not perceive my own best interests.
And then he says, if you realize that you do not perceive your own best interests, you could be taught what they are.
Yeah.
In the presence of your conviction that you do know what they are, you cannot learn. Well, that's obvious.
Right.
Because you think you know it. You think you're right. You think your perception is accurate. You think everything's true. So let's just maintain the same status quo thought system. The idea for today is a step toward opening your mind so that learning can begin. So these early lessons of the course are really about the undoing.
Yeah.
Focusing on the undoing of the way you currently see now.
Yes. Okay.
Because that's essential if you're going to open to a new thought system. So then question everything. Question your perceptions, question your values, your beliefs, question what you perceive as your own best interests. Question it all. It's all part of the thought system.
I'm scared that I'm going to get lazy and really enjoy doing bugger all. That's another fear attack thought.
But who's scared of that? What part of your mind is scared of that?
Yeah.
Because there's like a self-definition that defines you as someone who's doing rather than just being. So getting lazy. Okay, well, is it lazy to just be who you are? You're sitting in bliss, just being who you are, really, enjoying the moment. Is that lazy? Or is it just being who you are? It's finally coming to an awareness of who you are, which is kind of the whole point of your entire life. So how can, the ego will judge that as lazy, but then you do not perceive your own best interests. So maybe that judgment is completely false.
Wow. I judge.
And so, interesting, like we were talking about Richard yesterday, like clearly there's a program there and it's running him down. He's highly stressed. Okay, well, you don't perceive your own best interests here. This is actually degrading your mind and your system, your body, your energy system, etc. And you're going, no, but I'm going to continue. So what is really in your best interest is the question. And maybe just rest and be, and just take time out from all the doing and just be for a bit and see what happens if you just be. And you go, okay, I'm actually going to take a week off and not do anything, not do any of all of the stuff that I'm busy with. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to lay it all aside. That might be absolutely the best thing that he could do.
But quite scary, because when we do that, well, it's working at that level is a fantastic distraction, because get to think about ourselves. But if we're lying looking at the ceiling thinking, oh my God, I'm actually, this is too much. This is terrible. My mother was like that. She couldn't, she didn't like long holidays. She only liked maybe 2 or 3 days at a time.
Because too much time to think and be.
It's time to be. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the mind's then you've got to face stuff. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Maybe because you're sitting and you're being, and then these emotions come up, and then the mind's pattern is, oh no, we'll go do something, distract yourself.
Oh yeah.
Get busy with something. Because then you keep your mind occupied, and you'll keep it away from the emotional level that's uncomfortable.
Yes.
So we can, it always wants to pull you to the surface level of life. That's its primary defense. So remember, you've got 3 defense mechanisms to source or spirit. Primary one is the level of the world, sensory perceptions, and that's just our normal kind of state of consciousness for most people.
Okay. Yeah.
Sensations, right? So the sensory world. So if you look at how modern society is geared up, it's geared up to avoid pain and seek pleasure. This is the program, right? Sensory. Oh, okay. And there's obviously people are willing to sell you all kinds of ways of doing that. In our commercial world, this will give you pleasure. Whatever that may be, and then they package it as a product or service. This will avoid pain, or you need security, for instance. That's avoiding pain. So fear and desire are the kind of the primary motivating forces for most people that keep you on the surface level and on the timeline. This is all timeline stuff.
True.
Just going from one situation to another, and never really going any deeper. The emotions come up, and then you don't really want to face them, so then you distract, and you go, oh, well, I'll do something to distract myself, whatever that may be. And everyone has their patterns, their ways of dealing with these things. If they're unhealthy, then that becomes an addiction. Oh, I need to do that to allay okay, so I'll eat something, I'll drink something, I'll smoke something, I'll do an activity, whatever it is, to distract myself from that emotional pain. And not just sit with it. Well, actually, in this context, it's worth having a look at this poem. I should have done it in the first session. I apologize. We got busy with other stuff, but I don't know if you read the invitation at the beginning of this.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was lovely.
So the invitation is just to sit with it. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it.
Yeah.
Can you just sit with it and be with it and allow yourself to feel that? And then there's a process of letting it go. But don't run away from it and avoid it and hide from it. So real call to okay, can you just sit with it and face it? And not do the normal pattern of distraction. And so what you did today was good, because you had a pattern and you went, okay, I want to do that. I want to go and allay my anxiety by going into the studio and working as a response to that. But instead you went, no, just park it, just leave it. Because then you're actually confronting the anxiety head on, saying, okay, you're not going to govern me.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to be a puppet responding to whatever you're telling me to do.
And then I got the very clear understanding that time with this painting doesn't matter, because when I go back tomorrow, it's going to happen really quickly. Done a lot of the work already, and it's all right. There's not a time issue here at all. But yeah,
so then
that's beautiful.
Do you want to read it? It's lovely.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know the history of it? I'll just tell it before you go into it. Do you know the history of it?
I don't.
So this lady, she's actually a white American lady, but she's got a Native American Indian name given to her by her kind of shaman, and that tradition of Araya Mountain Dreamer. So that's what she writes under. And this poem came in 1994. So it was the very beginning of the internet. when email had just started. I don't know if you remember those days. It was when you got an email, you're like, oh, wow, this is exciting. Got an email. And you read every email because you're only getting like one or two a day, if at most. So so she'd been out to a dinner party and got home, and it had been a kind of superficial. Everyone was like doing the dinner party chat. Oh, well, this is what I'm doing in my life, and I've got this job, and I've got this status, and the possessions, and et cetera, et cetera. And she just found it kind of very shallow. And so she came home and she wrote this in the early hours in the morning, just in response to her experience of that shallowness. The spirit is obviously calling her to say, okay, there's something deeper.
Yeah.
And you need to express it in words. And so then she wrote it and she put it out on email, and it went viral because everyone was like, oh, wow, this is an email, fantastic. Oh, and this is actually really good. And so it just went viral. And I think that started her writing career because everyone said, well, I want to know more. And so then she wrote a book. She wrote a book about the poem and subsequent books. But just, this is an invitation from Spirit, really, to say, well, will you step into another way of being?
Yeah. Okay.
And it's quite pertinent given our lesson because, I don't perceive my own best interests.
It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain.
Okay, stop there. We'll just talk about it a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense so far? Anything?
Oh, yes. I'm pulled back to my hosting numerous dinner parties, been invited to numerous dinner parties and drinking a lot and eating rich food and I was good in the ego world. I'd bang on about ego stuff very much. But I always knew there was a kind of feeling of emptiness, of something missing right at the heart of life.
This was your previous life as married, children, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. My dad, he was a psychotherapist, but towards the end of his life, and before he got dementia, he used to say to people, tell me about you. No, tell me really about you. I want to know about you. And he wanted to know this sort of stuff, not what you do for a living, but, what do you ache for? And I know that I have been very affected by the best of him in that way. And sometimes when, living in Findhorn, I can become incredibly useful to, you drop in very quickly into a really heartfelt conversation that matters. About dreams and adventures of being alive. Although we do talk a lot about planets squaring your moon.
Well, it's a call to go beyond that, you see. It's to go to the very core of who you are. It's not about astrology and what star sign you are, etc. It's actually about who you really are at the very core.
Yes.
So that's why I like this poem, because it's like go to the very core of your being.
Yeah.
And that's beyond all of the external world. You have to go beyond time and space then. So all of those constructs of whatever it is, astrology, that's what she's referring to there. Just start falling away at that point. It's an invitation to go to the very center of your being.
Yeah. So when I met Kenneth, and he talks like she's talking. That was just brilliant. Because you know, if you've been opened by life's betrayals, you know, what do we do? What do we do when we're faced with further pain? Or we just
The opening is this, isn't it? So life's betrayals or the traumas. You know, you feel like betrayed or really wounded, you know, really hurt. And then the opening is, well, that's an opening into the spirit if you allow it. If you can really let go and open to that, then life has opened you. You know, all of the traumas open you up to who you really are. That's in fact their only purpose from the spiritual perspective. There's no point for all of this drama and trauma on the timeline that so many people experience, except that it's an invitation to open your mind to the spirit and go back home. That's what it's all for. And that's all Jesus is trying to teach us. He's saying, you know, your own best interests. You perceive you have best interests on this timeline, and you're wrong. Your perception's totally wrong, because you think you're something you're not. You think you're somewhere you're not. This illusion doesn't even exist. How can any of your perceptions be true or real? It's a wake up call.
I perceive my own best interests. Yeah, I don't even perceive my best interests.
So how can I actually direct my life? This is what he's trying to do. He's trying to deconstruct this ego program that's run your life. So I don't know. I don't know anymore. And these best interests I thought I had are maybe not my best interests. I don't know anymore. And in the not knowing is then the invitation to the spirit to come in and say, okay, well, I'll do it. You create the space for it, and then it comes in and it starts to guide you. But you have to create the space. Otherwise, you know, if you think you know your own best interest, then forget it. It's not going to happen.
It's like a very hard carapace, isn't it? And spirit cannot pierce that. There's just such a no, I'm fine. You can all go away now. I'm doing great.
Yeah. Even though I'm not really doing great, but it takes. You know, there was a guy called he called himself Master Teacher, which is interesting, but we won't go there. But
we know plenty of master teachers.
Calling yourself Master Teacher is like, okay, well, whatever. But anyway, that was his title, and he was a Course in Miracles teacher, and he had this kind of sort of cult thing going on where people would come, and people would come and say, you know, like, no, well, help me. And he'd just look at them and he'd say, no, you haven't suffered enough yet. Go away. Go away. Suffer some more, because you're not open. You could see they weren't open. And he'd just say, well, you haven't suffered enough. So come back when you're ready. Which is maybe a little bit harsh, but what he saw was like, okay, you're not open and ready yet. So, and what opens you up is the suffering. This is what she's saying here. Have you become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain, or have life's betrayals opened you?
Wow. Well, I wouldn't have trusted that master teacher for simply the name that he's given himself.
Yeah, well, he had his followers and his detractors. I think Helen Schuckman was irate. She was like, who's this guy setting himself up as some kind of, you know, guru using my course, she said, which is, again, that's her own ego. It wasn't her course.
That's right. It certainly wasn't.
It was her baby, you see. And I was like, no, it wasn't really. It just came through you.
Yeah.
And then you got to release it into the world. But, you know, she perceived that it was being misused by people who are setting up their own little kind of kingdoms to, you know, create some kind of cult. And they were the kind of the master teacher. I actually once did a workshop with the guy, and he had master teacher. He had a badge saying master teacher. I was just oh my God, seriously.
Wow.
Needless to say, he wasn't actually a master teacher. There was a lot of ego there, which I saw. And when I challenged it, he didn't like it. He said, "Just zip it, Jono. If you haven't come here to learn, just zip it. I don't want to hear from you."
Wow.
Yeah, I nearly walked out. But I took it. I was like, okay, all right, just go through go through this. It's all an experience.
Yes.
Finish the process, and you certainly learn how not to be. That's not how you want to be. Anyone who says zip it is not open to questioning. It's like the whole point is do question, even if it's a seemingly stupid question. Of course I'll answer it because, well, I'll push it back to you and say, okay, well, what do you think?
Yeah.
You never say to someone zip it. You only say that if your story, your ego story has been challenged, and you just suppress it. That's the ego. No, just zip it. I don't even want to hear it. Oh, okay, well, where's the exploration of the truth then here? Because that was the funny thing. You say, oh, no, we're doing an exploration of the truth here. And then it's just zip it. You're like, oh, how does that work then? How can you tell anyone to zip it if you're really open to exploring the truth?
All right. Shall I carry on?
Yeah.
I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes, without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you're telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself. If you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. If you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy.
Stop there. So anything strike you in these
The sitting with pain without fixing it. I think my kids were great at teaching me that because, oh boy, did I want to fix it. Yeah. I would sit with them, but it took a long time to understand that I couldn't fix it for them. Couldn't fix their lives, even though I was apparently their mother. No, I say apparently I was there. Fade it or fix it without moving to hide it or fade it.
Yeah, there's a brilliant story. I'll share it with Byron Katie's story. I don't know if you've read her book and stuff, but
a wee bit.
She talks about. She was a mess. She was kind of alcoholic, drug addict, and all this emotional drama, which obviously then her kids picked up on. So now she goes into this kind of rehab place, and she just kind of has an epiphany. She wakes up one morning having been passed out on the floor, and she goes, I just see, I get it. It's like just that whole program has just dropped away, and I'm seeing with clarity for the first time in my life. And so then she goes back into her home environment. Of course, there's all the chaos that she created from all of her drama, and her kids are a bit of a mess. And so her 16-year-old daughter is going out on the town and drinking and drugs and the whole thing. And Byron Katie, instead of saying, no, you can't do that, she just has the wisdom to just go, okay, fine. I'm not going to try and move it or hide it or fade it or fix it. I'm just going to sit and I'm going to wait for you every night.
Yeah.
Make sure you come home.
Yeah.
And so she does that for like 2 or 3 weeks while her daughter's busy going out and partying and blah, blah. Yeah. I'm just going to sit and I'm going to wait till if it's 3, 4 in the morning, it doesn't matter. I'm going to wait. I'm going to sit up and just and when you come, just say, are you okay? And eventually her daughter comes one night and says, Ma, I can't do this anymore. Help me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And so she was waiting for her daughter to be ready. Because if she'd said, you can't do this, young lady, you grounded, daughter would have gone, stuff you did all of this. You were like, so who are you to tell me? I'm going to do what I want. This is rebellion. It's not going to work.
Exactly.
She had to just sit there as the silent presence of love and wait. And not allow her mother program to like, oh my God, my daughter's killing herself, and she might get killed in a car accident, or she might overdose, or freaking out. She just went, okay, I'm just going to sit and be here for her and wait. And then the opening came. Because in the presence of the silent presence of love, eventually, if someone is in pain, they're going to crack and they're going to go, okay, help me. So I just wanted to mention that story because it is exactly that, sitting and not necessarily having to compulsively act from an egoic program of, oh, I'm their mother, I've got to be concerned. But it's such a program. The mother program is such a program, isn't it?
We were talking about that this morning when I was, stepping out of the weekly must-do routine. And Kenneth said the best thing is to be really happy and embody love, and they will know. And they will know that. And that's an amazing perspective. It's an amazing allowing our acceptance of being love's presence in their lives, even though I'm not physically with them. They'll know it.
It wasn't interesting the other day when Lucy was doing the flipping your flop. Her daughter messaged her, so are you okay? How interesting is that?
Yes, she did.
So she kind of picked up on something. Her mother's going through some kind of emotional, it was good, but it's going through some drama to get there, some trauma to get there. And her daughter says, oh, are you okay? And then sends her those photos.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
So they do know. Yeah, you're connected to them. You're connected to them on the mind level. So they do know.
That's what Kenneth's daughter does. She will contact. She's 42, but they're on
connected. Okay, so anything else there? Be with joy. I like that. Dance with wildness. With the ecstasy for you.
Oh, yes, I can do that. You do.
Seems to happen quite a lot at Findhorn. Everyone's dancing in the woods.
There's
the place to go.
Dancing. There's blessed dancing every Sunday out on the bay, or if the tide is too high or the weather is too wild, dance in the garden, or there's much dancing.
Dance with wildness.
Yeah.
You fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes.
Yeah.
Let go of all of those limitations, we put ourselves under. Limitations of being human. Oh, I can't do that because what will people think?
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm too old, or I'm too old, or that.
No.
Or I believe I can't dance. Wow. A straitjacket, an ego straitjacket. I think it's interesting. It doesn't interest me if the story you're telling me is true. It's true. But because it could be a soul story of a longing, even though you're not quite there embodying it. If you can disappoint another to be true to yourself, you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not. Oh my God, yes, I've been there. I'm not saying, when I say that, oh yes, I absolutely know it there. But as soon as I read that line again, ouch. Yeah, ouch. Yeah, I was prepared to stand in the firing line and take all the punches. But still,
people say you betrayed me and not betray your own soul.
Yes, you betrayed me. How could you do this? But what's going to happen? And it's like that Mary Oliver poem. I set off to save the only life that I could, even though the voices from the dark woodland are shouting, "Save me, save me." Off she goes into the dark wood to save her own life.
What's it called?
Mary Oliver is the poet.
Mary Oliver, and the name of the poem is The Journey.
Well, The Journey.
Is that the poem?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah. Yeah.
Poem of transformation. Let's have a look.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's not very long. There we go. The day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles, "Mend my life," each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough, and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. Oh. Oh, it's not fabulous.
Yeah, thank you for that. I've never read that before.
You're welcome. The number of times I've thought about pinning it to my wall, and the number of times I reference it. Yeah.
Definitely, maybe something I'll include in a future version of the course, because poetry is powerful. You know, it's just simple words point you into a direction that any life you could save.
The only life you could save. And that's for those of us who are healers, you know, trying to heal the grief, trying to fix it, trying to make it all better. Wow.
Yeah, heal thyself.
Yes.
Make that your priority, because that's you cannot save anyone else. You can help them, you can show them the way, but up to them. Up to them.
Yeah.
To save yourself, and then people might follow.
Yeah.
Or not. If they don't in this life, that's okay. You know, not everyone wants to be saved, and carry on. No one really dies. So. And then you get this, bear the accusation of betrayal, not betray your own soul. What she means by that.
Well, the perception of having betrayed a set of values you apparently upheld in the world. I am thinking about my own experience of saying to my family, I'm not going to stay married to your dad. You know, the accusation of betraying this amazing family setup. But I was not being true to my own soul. I was not happy. If you can be faithless without faith and therefore trustworthy, I felt that I could be just like a rock. I was not betraying their love. No. It was they were just gonna see me for who I was, really.
Betray your own self. You can be faithless. Faithless to what? Faithless to the ego's thought system.
Yeah.
And therefore trustworthy to the spirit.
Right. Yeah.
Which she's talking about. And can you have the courage to do that? Because it's so easy. I mean, most people will allow themselves to be swayed. Well, everyone wants me to do this, so I'll do it, even though I don't really feel that's right for me. I'll do it because I fear the disapproval of others.
Yeah.
And I don't want to stand in the fire of that disapproval and say, you know what, doesn't matter, whatever. And the heroes of this world, who take the hero's journey, are the people who say, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. Doesn't matter, because these threshold guardians are the people who say, oh no, you can't do that, because you're betraying us. There's all this kind of emotional bondage, really, that keeps us in our known world. And the people who say, no, I must do this because it's my own journey. I have to take this journey. It's just, there's no option. I must save myself first. And then coming back from that place, maybe I can help save others if they're willing. It's up to them. But how can I save anyone if I'm not saved myself? It's never gonna happen.
That's it.
So it's to stand in the fire of that disapproval of the ego and say, you know what, I don't care. And do it anyway because that's what feels right. And reference internally and not to the outside world. Be willing to be faithless to all of those false values.
The thing was, I really, really did care. I cared massively, hugely, enormously, but I still did it. Yeah.
So you're faithless to the ego's thought system, and that
was faithless.
The caring was what? Special love.
Yeah.
It's a special love, yes, family, husband, daughters and sons. And then, you want to keep all that together and you want to make everyone happy, but you're not happy.
No, I was not.
So,
and the body was suffering. I was fatigued and not as healthy as I should be.
Because that emotional energy was draining you.
A huge drain, yeah. So I want to know if you can see beauty, even when it's not pretty every day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes! It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. God, it's really fantastically powerful.
Yeah, the fire, and the fire is this fire of transformation.
Yes.
The fire of often, in the hero's journey, it's a difficult situation, difficult challenges, temptations. The fire, you stand in it and not shrink back and say, okay, I'm up for this. Bring it on. I'm not gonna shrink back into my ego shell. I'm going to go through this. Bring it on. Let's go through the death and the rebirth and do the transformation. And your invitation is, will you stand in that fire? In the alchemical tradition, they talk about the fire that purifies.
Yes.
Fire is a symbol of purification and of transformation into a higher element. So the lead becomes the gold.
Yes.
Symbolically, that's the fire of life, the fire of the test and the challenge, then forging this new self and not shrinking back from that purification process, because it feels like you're dying. It's like, all of the impurities are being burned away, and that feels excruciating at times. It's like, can't stand this. You're saying, well, but will you stand in that fire and just not shrink back and have the courage to go through it? And that's the invitation for all of us. Not easy, but
Yeah.
In the end, is there another way?
Well, it doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. I remember when I was, it must have been over 10 years ago, and I went to have some acupuncture. And I said to this woman, I had been going to her for a long time, I said, I've never been alone in my life. And she went, that's what's wrong with you.
Yeah. Always with other people and never
Yeah,
sitting.
exactly. Yeah. It was a big
Company you keep in the
scary
empty
thing.
moment.
Yeah.
Mm.
You truly like the company. I didn't truly know my own company
Mm.
in the empty moments.
Mm. Who am I really? Because I've got to just sit and so then what most people do is they then fill the empty moments with activity and so on.
I believe I did do that, and then just, well, it's okay, they'll be back in half an hour. I've only got that much time or whatever. So, but
Mm.
the idea of being lonely was a big fear. So I
Mm.
made everything around me to prevent that from happening.
Mm.
It didn't ultimately work.
No, you can't run away from yourself.
No, you always get to go with yourself. Yeah,
No.
yeah,
And if you can just sit and be in your own company and be okay with that, that's enormously freeing.
yeah.
I don't need anyone. I don't need anything. I can just sit and I can be and I'm okay, just
Mm.
as I am. And I could do that for an hour or 2 or 3. It's okay.
Just be.
And just sit and be. Yeah. Have you ever done you haven't done Vipassana, but that's really what it's about. Because it's like silence. There's no communication with anyone else. They make you go within for 10 days and you just got to sit and be with yourself. It's very interesting.
Wow. Have you done that? Have you done 10 days? Silence? Yeah. You have? More? Okay.
Kenneth's done it. Was it a Vipassana retreat, Kenneth, or something else?
I was with 3 months.
3 months of silence. Wow.
Three monks.
Oh, 3 monks. Oh, okay. Okay.
And they recommend me to go to a cave.
Really?
Yeah. So we have it in my country. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting there. 16 days.
16.
Yeah.
16 days of
days in
silence.
a cave.
Wow. Where was this?
Yeah.
In India or somewhere?
Sweden.
No, Sweden.
Cave in Sweden. Wow. Okay. Was it winter or summer?
You had
Summer.
link and
Summer.
wolf and things outside.
Oh, really? Wild animals?
Yeah. But they understand here is something going on, so we don't bother.
Okay. So you just
they're very like
yeah.
animal.
Really?
You just,
And then they go because the vibration is nice.
yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just sat for 16 days in silence. Did you eat, or was it just a 16-day fast?
I had fig.
Figs?
Yeah, fig.
Figs. You had figs for 16 days. Oh. Yeah, I can recommend it. If ever you can take 10 days out, go and do the Vipassana retreat. They do it in the UK at a place called Herefordshire, I think.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity to just be quiet and silent for that time. Vipassana UK retreat. Let's have a look. Stowmarket, Suffolk.
That's where
Herefordshire. 10 days.
Stowmarket is where John and Sue live.
Yeah, interesting. So there we go. You could that's a general service period. Okay. I wonder if they do it there, or if it's Herefordshire. I think it might be Herefordshire.
There's
There
one if you press.
Herefordshire and Suffolk. Okay. So they got one in Suffolk.
There's a Scotland option there.
Is there where?
Just go up a wee bit.
No?
Yeah.
Scotland. There
Yeah.
we go. Let's have a look. Scotland.
Nothing.
No. Scotland. Oh, Moffat, Scotland United. It's a non-centre. Okay, so they have these things called non-centres, where single 10 days course a year. So they do only once a year. Monthly 1-day courses and group sittings.
In Edinburgh, Glasgow, and Perth offer returning.
Where's Moffat?
It's in the Borders. It's in the Borders.
Right. Okay. So it might be worth trying, but it's a great opportunity just to have silence for 10 days and just be with yourself. And yes, there's some Buddhist teaching going on, but it's really not in contradiction with the course at all. It's very, very similar. And you just sit and, I mean, I had a profound experience after 9 days.
Actually, I've just remembered the plumber here went on a Vipassana.
Okay.
I'll ask him more about it. Yeah.
Okay. Ask him. 10-day course in July. I don't know. It doesn't look like there's anything current. So you might have to go to the UK, to England, but.
Englandshire. Okay.
Englandshire, yeah. Well, it's only just down the road, really. It's not that far. Go and visit John in Suffolk, and.
Wow, quite so.
I don't know. It doesn't look like they're doing it. I mean, you can contact them.
Okay.
There's the.
Thank you.
But it's an opportunity to just really immerse yourself. Just go within, and process, and just sit and be for 10 days. I'm very glad I did it. I'd like to, ideally you should do it once a year, really, but I'm not sure that's gonna be possible.
At least once in a lifetime.
Yeah, at least once in a lifetime. It's a good experience to just do 10 days of silence, and it definitely deepens you. So let's have I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
There we go. Send them a mail and see what they say. Okay, I'm just gonna message my one.
Yeah, I wonder if you have experience of fast.
Yeah, he does fast.
For 5 weeks.
We were asking about fasting, your experience of fasting.
Yeah, I did 10 days once, 10 days of no food in a row, which was interesting. No, I just do intermittent. It's like, I mean, I haven't eaten anything since early hours of this morning. Well, I had a couple of apples. That's it. So you just get used to it. It's like the way I live. If I'm busy and I'm like, okay, well, I'm busy. I chose to meditate rather than eat. I was like, I'd rather do an hour of meditation than eat. I'll have something later. So intermittent fasting, and then if you do a longer fast, like a 9-10 day one, I just found it definitely changes your mindset and puts you in a different state of consciousness for sure. Kind of lighter, more ethereal, and just releasing that need for food. I mean, before I started fasting, it was like, okay, well, I've got to eat every few hours. It's 3 meals a day, and that's a program. And then you go, well, do I really? And you actually don't, honestly. You can eat much less than that. That's just a Western kind of program. I know you've got to eat every few hours. I mean, like, well, I don't know who made that, who made up these rules anyway. But I suppose that normally the body gets hungry, and then you're like, okay, well, every 4 or 5 hours I've got to feed my face again. But if you can just go through that, all it is a sensation in the body.
Yeah.
Sensation in the stomach. It's like, okay, well, it's just a sensation. Like, I don't have to react to that. It's not really of any consequence. And so the Vipassana teaches you this, because you just observe body sensation. Well, all it is a sensation. I'm not going to judge it. I don't have to react to it. I'm equanimous to it. So, same idea, really. You're just letting go. You're letting go of all of those, the triggers that the stimuli of the senses give you to do certain things, and you just start undoing those programs. It's very freeing and liberating.
It's amazing. I did 5 weeks only tea and honey.
Wow. Yeah.
And I never feel so good. I walk on the air.
Yeah.
The way we jump up. Wow.
Yeah. Just the lightness and the energy.
Oh, yeah.
I actually managed to do a run, like on day 9, I think, of my fast. I went running on the beach.
Yeah.
I went for like a 45-minute run, and I was like, wow, actually, I can do it. I'm getting energy from somewhere.
From some.
It's amazing. So you start breaking down the ego's limitations and saying, these aren't really limits. So it's a good practice. In fact, I put it into the course. Are you doing it every week?
I did this.
Ayana? No.
No, I'm not. I've got this ego idea that because I burn quite fast and I can get a bit dizzy, that I need to keep the fuel coming. Yeah. But, there have been days when when I'm not hungry, and I will go for quite a long time with just maybe some fruit. And that's okay. And I take a lot of water. So
yeah, I would try the intermittent. If you try doing like 12 hours.
Oh, definitely, I can do that. Or 12 or 16 hours.
Yeah,
I can do that.
you
Yeah,
kind of get used to it.
yeah.
And then longer fast might be. What I've found is after like about 2 or 3 days, it's fine.
Okay.
It doesn't really bother you too much.
Okay.
You just kind of go and you forget about food, because you've got used to the hunger. It's like normal. It's not. First 2 or 3 days is stomach. Your body's adjusting, and you can have detox reactions and so on. But you can get through that. And then at about day 9 or 10, I was like, okay, I'm really actually quite hungry. I'm really hungry. It's like, and I was still exercising, you see. So I was like burning energy, and it's like, whoa, okay, like maybe I need a bit of food now. Yeah. And then I ate, and it was like, it was so interesting. For a few days, like nothing came out the other side. I ate, everything was absorbed, everything. Yeah. It's like the body just. Yeah. So you could just feel that your cells sucking it all up. So I think it definitely tunes up your system, your mentally, emotionally, but also your body. Fasting has been shown to be good for your body, in moderation. Also, if you start pushing it into the extremes, your body can, like the Buddha did. He nearly killed himself fasting because he was eating 1 grain of rice a day for years. Well, eventually the body's just like, there's nothing, there's no substance, there's no nutrition and he was just like finished. His body was, he was malnourished. So you don't want to push it to that extreme, but it's just going beyond the limits, really, of what you think is possible. That's the whole idea. Okay. So you start breaking down those ego ideas of, oh no, well, I have to do this. I need food, and it's really it's an attachment to the body, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's about using all these practices to break that, and realize that you're free. You actually don't need to do all these patterns. And then you eat, but like you eat just because, well, that's all right. So now I'll eat. It feels right, so I eat. But there's no like big attachment to it, or like there's so many people put so much energy and time into food. So it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
That may be better directed to other more spiritual pursuits. Okay, so that brings us. That's the Orion Mountain Dreamer. let's go back to our lesson. We'll finish this and we'll do a meditation.
Okay.
Number 3.
The exercises for today require much more honesty than you're accustomed to using. A few subjects honestly and carefully considered in each of the 5 practice periods which should be undertaken today will be more helpful than a more cursory examination of a large number. 2 minutes are suggested for each of the mind-searching periods which the exercises involve. So
Okay.
I like that he says you require much more honesty than you're accustomed to.
Yeah.
Really.
No.
Yeah.
No, he's asking us to be really honest.
Yeah.
Ourselves and than you're used to using, because we normally just go, okay, so no, that's my program. I perceive my best interest, and that's what it is, and I don't question it.
Yeah.
But he's saying you really need to question this and be very honest in this mind searching.
Okay.
And number 4.
The practice period should begin with repeating today's idea, followed by searching the mind with closed eyes for unresolved situations about which you are currently concerned. The emphasis should be on uncovering the outcome you want. You will quickly realize that you have a number of goals in mind as part of the desired outcome, and also that these goals are on different levels and often conflict. Yeah. Yeah.
So he's asking us to see that these ego goals, there's always conflict. So I want this, but actually, if I'm honest, maybe that creates a conflict with something else.
Yeah.
And they often conflict. So he's asking us to just see very honestly what these ego goals do. And if you see that, then you go, okay, well, what he's saying is true and right. So maybe I don't perceive my own best interests. Take Richard's example. Perceive my own best interest. No, I want to execute on my goals. These are okay, but you're highly stressed. You're highly stressed. You've got adrenal fatigue because of it, because your cortisol and adrenaline levels are way too high. Is that really in your best interest? Really? Or not? So you've got to be willing to question the whole thing, saying, well, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he's asking us to do here. Okay. So then the rest is practice, which I can guide you through in a meditation. Just give me a moment. I just need the toilet, and we're going to get a top up of tea. So should we have a 2-minute break?
Sure.
Great. Let me just pause the recording.
Okay. Was it cold? You had a bed?
Okay, so you ready for a meditation?
Yeah, great.
So let's get the recordings going again. Okay, so just sitting comfortably, your feet shoulder width apart. Cup your hands in your lap, keep your back straight. Close your eyes. And start off with a nice deep breath in through the nose. Just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils, clenching the sphincter muscle. So just take a nice deep breath in, feel the stomach rising, feel the energy rising up your spine into the heart center. Put one hand on your heart to connect in with your heart space. And draw the energy all the way up into the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale, smile. And so just check in and scan your mind, just noticing any goals covering the outcome you want for unresolved situations in your life. Anything that's troubling you at all, some uncertainty, look at it, and if you're honest, you'll realize that you have a number of goals in mind as part of the desired outcome. Also that these goals are on different levels and often conflict. And just breathe in again, create some space, some awareness, some light around these goals. Now just name each situation that occurs to you, and then name the goals, as many goals as possible that you would like to be met in its resolution. So say in the situation involving whatever it is or whoever it is, I would like whatever it is to happen, and something else to happen, and something else to happen, and so on. Try to cover as many different kinds of outcomes as may honestly occur to you. Even if some of them don't appear to be directly related to the situation, have anything to do with it at all. And maybe as you observe, just breathe in again. You'll recognize that you're making a large number of demands of the situation, which have nothing to do with it. It's all just about your own expectations. You'll also recognize that many of your goals are contradictory, that you have no unified outcome in mind, and that you must experience disappointment in connection with some of your goals, however the situation turns out. So if you see all of this, then just let it all go by saying, I do not perceive my own best interests in the situation. And exhale out through the mouth, just to help you to let it all go. Exhaling it all out. Have a sense of releasing to the nothingness that it really is. Letting it all go. Finding some peace and stillness. The bottom of the exhale. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And you just rest here for a few moments. In emptiness, openness, a stillness, when you let go of all of your goals, which, as Jesus is teaching us, are often conflicted and on different levels. So whatever happens, we're going to be disappointed. Instead of that, there's just this empty, open, spacious awareness in your mind. So breathe into that. There's the stomach rising and the chest rising, clenching the sphincter muscle. That's the muscle you use to squeeze the last drops of urine out or stop the flow of urine. Locks the energy in. Notice the sensation of that. Notice the warm wave of energy rising up your spine into your heart center. And put one hand on your heart so that feels right. Just feel the warmth, feel the presence there. Another sip of air and draw this energy all the way up into the crown of your head. And pause at the top of the inhale. And go and scan your mind. So bring another situation to mind that's troubling you and apply today's idea. So in the situation involving whatever, whoever would like, so whatever it is to happen, and something else to happen, and so on. Try to cover as many different kinds of outcomes as possible, and notice that often these outcomes conflict. And if one is achieved, then maybe another one is compromised. Observe that, and remind yourself that really I don't perceive my own best interests in this situation. And then exhale. As you exhale, you just blow it all out. Blow it away with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness it really is. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just rest in the stillness, quiet. Beyond all of your perceived best interests, all of your ego's expectations, goals, aims and objectives, lies the truth that you are pure formless awareness. And in pure formless awareness, there is no need for goals. No outcomes are necessary. The only outcome that's possible in pure formless awareness is itself. Love itself. Experience of total love that is beyond this world. So just give yourself the opportunity to surrender to that. To just let it all go. Sink inwards into the peace of God. Peace of love that passes all understanding, it's been called. Beyond the expectations, desires of the ego. The source of all suffering. Beyond all of that lies the truth. So just sink into that truth. Sink into the truth, let it all go, and just be still, be quiet for a couple of minutes of deep silence. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Breathe, relax, be still. Observe the breath flowing into the nostrils and out of the nostrils. Let the breath just take you deeper and deeper into the stillness of your own awareness, your true awareness beyond the clouds of your expectations and your fears and your doubts, everything that roots your mind onto the timeline of your life. Go there, give yourself the freedom to experience this. The next couple of minutes of deep silence. And if any thoughts arise, to cloud this, formless awareness. Just observe them and release them like cloud patterns. Remind yourself that you don't really perceive your own best interests in whatever the situation is that arose. Although you might like some outcomes to happen, recognize what those outcomes are briefly. I would like this to happen, and this to happen, and this to happen. In fact, I do not perceive my own best interests in this situation. So I exhale and just blow the clouds away. The breeze of your breath into the nothingness they really are. Let it all go and surrender into the blue sky, your true awareness. The light of your source shine through it. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. The next couple of minutes, just breathe, observe your breath flowing in and out. Breath is breathing you. You're not really doing anything, just being done through the source, the spirit of the light just streaming through your awareness, merging with you, telling you that it is you and you are it, and there's no separation, no distinction, just one self, one true awareness, one pure formless awareness. So give yourself over to that experience completely for the next couple of minutes of deep silence. So just gently bringing yourself back, this very deep connected state, into an awareness of your senses, your body, and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale, smiling. Scan your mind one more time for any unresolved situations that are causing you any kind of concern, and remind yourself that in the situation, I would like something to happen, and name it, some outcome, something else to happen and something else to happen, covering as many outcomes as come to mind. In fact, I do not perceive my own best interests in the situation. So I'm willing to let go of what I perceive as my best interests. My attachment to these goals. Just release them all as you exhale the breeze of your breath. Releasing them all into the nothingness they really are. Blowing them out like dark smoke out of your mouth. All lower stomach into the spine. So notice the energy is subsided back down from the crown of your head into your lower stomach and your groin. Notice the weight of your body. Count of 2, pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. As you breathe in, notice any smell in your nose. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth. Notice what you're hearing. Noticing all these things from this very still, calm, surrendered state. There's no judgment. Your sense perceptions. Just allow these things to arise and they pass away. Rising and passing away is the nature of all form. So why would you get attached to what inevitably will fade away? All of these egoic goals, the best interests your ego tells you are yours, are temporary. Maybe just observe them. Whatever you thought in this exercise, observe the temporary nature of these goals. These are not permanent, eternal, therefore they are not real. Shifting, fading so quickly, and yet we attach our lives, we attach our holy minds to these goals and think that these goals will bring us some kind of peace, happiness, joy, satisfaction. As Jesus says, your perception of the situation is wrong. You do not perceive clearly because you do not know who you really are. So be willing to open your mind to be shown who you are, what your best interests really are by the Holy Spirit. So it is said and so it is done. So on the count of 3, open your eyes. Just take a minute to look around, noticing the various objects in the room. Again, without judgment, without interpretations. Notice how peaceful it is when you do that. There's no judgment, and nothing can disturb you. If any thoughts arise as you're doing this, remind yourself that in this situation, this thought, I do not perceive my own best interests. Jesus is being very clear here with us, very firm, saying in no situation that arises do you realize the outcome that would make you happy. So just sit with that, let the quiet, peaceful energy that underlies this lesson, to which it's pointing, peace of God passes all understanding. It's been called the peace of pure formless awareness in our language. Let that just arise and stay with you for the rest of the session and on into the rest of your evening. So it is said, so it is done. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the meditation. So let's unmute. Okay, welcome, John.
Hi, sorry, I'm a bit late.
How are you? Is Sue with us or not? You on your own?
No, it's just me.
Okay. So yeah, you came in just in the middle of meditation, and I thought we could see how long this is. Could read some of the text. It's eight paragraphs, not too bad. So
Yeah.
should we give it a go?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one's called Creation and Communication. Section 7 of chapter 4, Ione, if you want to follow in your in your course. Do you want to kick it off for us?
It is clear that while the content of any particular ego illusion does not matter, its correction is more helpful in a specific context. Ego illusions are quite specific, although the mind is naturally abstract. Part of the mind becomes concrete, however, when it splits. The concrete part believes in the ego because the ego depends on the concrete. The ego is part of the mind that believe your existence is defined by separation. So its correction is more helpful in a specific context. So is he saying take a specific example and deal with the correction bit by bit?
Yeah. Concrete part believes in the ego because the ego depends on the concrete. So we must correct errors on the level at which they were made.
Yeah.
That's what he's trying to say to us.
So if the error is made on the level of the body, that's one level, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's two levels really. It's the level of the body, the material world that the ego is projected and invented, and there's the level of spirit, which is truth.
Yeah.
And so this concrete, specific part of the mind that the ego has made up has got nothing to do with the naturally abstract nature of pure formless awareness.
Yeah.
But its correction is more helpful in a specific context. So look at the specifics. You've got a specific problem, and then apply the correction to that problem. So we want to go to our timeline and look at the problem of life is a series of problems really that we have to seemingly solve. So whatever the problem is, whatever the specifics of it are, you can look at the specifics. The Holy Spirit can be aware of that and then say, but this isn't true. Specifics of your life, the situation, are not true. This is part of the illusion. Only the ego made up specifics as part of its belief in separation. So you can let it go. You don't have to attach your mind and your emotional energy. That's really the key. Don't give your emotional energy to the specifics of the situation. If you notice, the ego is always trying to get you to do that. Pull you down onto the timeline and say, no, you really need to think about this a lot. Get all your mental and emotional energy absorbed in this particular problem that it's invented, so that your mind is preoccupied with the specifics and it keeps you very far away from the naturally abstract awareness that is your pure formless awareness. And this is just a device to keep you far away from that awareness.
Yeah.
Okay, happy with number one?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying the ego is part of the mind, believes your existence is defined by separation.
Yep.
Yeah. So saying very clearly, your existence is defined by the idea of separation.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've separated from love. Now my entire existence is defined by that thought of separation, which underpins the ego's so-called consciousness. Okay, so number 2. John?
Everything the ego perceives is a separate whole, without the relationships that imply being. The ego is thus against communication, except insofar as it is utilized to establish separateness rather than to abolish it. The communication system of the ego is based on its own thought system. As is everything else it dictates. Its communication is controlled by its need to protect itself, and it will disrupt communication when it experiences threat. This disruption is a reaction to a specific person or persons. The specificity of the ego's thinking then results in spurious generalization, which is really not abstract at all. It merely responds in certain specific ways to everything it perceives as related.
Mm.
Okay, so anything strike you in that paragraph?
I think it's what's coming through this paragraph overall is the separateness of the ego and the ego's insistence on keeping things in a box defined in a non-threatening way to itself. And how it will interpret anything that questions it it will make up a story to reinvent itself again. If you disprove the ego in a certain aspect, it will actively find another reason to re-emerge.
Okay, so and he's talking about the communication of the ego, communication system of the ego. Does that make sense what he's saying?
Yeah, it does actually. I had an instance. I can't. What was it? I've lost it. I was trying to think about a COVID instance actually, but it's gone.
Yeah.
It was a while back. Yeah. But it was somebody who just kind of made up a story on the spur of the moment to protect their egoic story. I mean, I think you can see it in the Ukraine and Russia at the moment. You know, Putin's apparent rambling speech, which I didn't listen to, when being accused of invading Ukraine, says, well, is just kind of freeing that part of Ukraine that wants to be free of and rejoin Russia. They're all just stories.
So the ego uses communication for its own purposes. It communicates, but it communicates in ways that are about protecting itself, and it will disrupt communication when it experiences threat. So instead of, we were talking earlier, right, about like honest, open communication, and then the ego is going to block that. It's just going to go, no, like, for whatever reason, I can't participate in this. I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, I can't do it. And that disruption is a reaction to specific person or persons that the ego finds threatening. And then he says, this is interesting, the specificity of the ego's thinking then results in spurious generalization, which is really not abstract at all. It really responds in certain specific ways to everything it perceives as related. So it's not actually the oneness we're talking about. It's a general program. So the ego will say, "Oh well, this is the categorize them. It's like, okay, so this is this person or this situation. Okay, so I'll respond in this way, and it responds according to a pattern. So it's a specific response to everything that it perceives as the same, that it will categorize as the same, which often is not the same. So then it just misinterprets. And it'll label something, okay, well, that's that situation, so then I'll apply that. And that can be completely inappropriate for the situation because of its spurious generalization, which is not really abstract at all.
Yeah.
You understand what he means by abstract?
That's a good question, actually.
Yeah.
I understand abstract as kind of a high-level view, fundamental view. I understand abstract as kind of principles that exist within themselves and are truth unto themselves.
Okay. Iona, what's your understanding? Abstract.
I'm really not sure.
Okay, so we'll have a look at the dictionary definition. Always a start.
So I'm going to have a go at this. So if you abstract, you can, if you got the basics, and then you can abstract from there in your own. I'm thinking about in painting. To produce an abstract painting, you've understood all the fundamentals, but you can abstract in a powerful way from there. What does it say? Existing in thought or as an idea, but not having a physical or concrete existence. Relating to or denoting art that does not attempt to represent external reality, but rather seek to achieve its effect using shapes, colors, and textures.
So it's an art form as well, which is what you were saying.
That's right. So the Holy Spirit is abstract.
So it's this abstract realm. If you go into one of these diagrams, God or love or eternity or pure formless awareness is completely abstract. There's nothing specific about it.
No.
It exists purely as an idea, existing in thought or as an idea alone, but not having a physical or concrete existence. So that is the nature of spirit. There's no concrete existence. We only see its reflections in the world.
Yeah.
Why it's kind of tricky in a concrete world to then find the abstract of pure formless awareness, but that is the job we're all faced with. So the ego merely responds on the timeline. It has certain specific responses to things that it generalizes and categorizes. Oh, okay, well that's that kind of person, or that's that kind of, and this is what it does. It labels. It'll say, okay, well that person is such and such. They're part of that group. Okay, now I have a reaction to them based on my categorization of them. So it's a spurious generalization. It's not abstract at all. It's a specific response to something that's happening in this timeline. Just a generalized specific response. Abstract awareness goes entirely beyond any form. Doesn't actually want to form at all.
It's about seeing the beauty and the love in an abstract way, which is not anything about the form that apparently presents.
Yeah. So God is in everything I see on the timeline because God is in my mind. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm identified with the abstract, pure formless awareness, my true nature. And now from that place, my perception here of this world on the timeline is that everything is really that. Everything is that pure formless awareness in truth. So I look beyond the illusions and I experience the truth,
yes,
abstract reality as my true nature. And that influences all of my perceptions and my thoughts and my actions. And so that's the way then the spirit reinterprets the concrete and the specific from the abstract point of view, and then allows you to respond in ways that you're still doing things, saying things on the timeline, but they're coming from the abstract, pure formless awareness of who you really are, rather than from the specific, concrete, spurious nature of the ego.
Nice.
So that's what abstract. So it refers to the abstract, pure thought, the idea of pure oneness, perfect oneness, pure formless awareness is completely abstract, or it wouldn't be perfect oneness. You see, the nature of it has to be abstract. If it was specific, then it denies the oneness that is its essence. So let's stick it into our glossary, shall we? Abstract, so existing in thought or as an idea, but not having a physical, concrete existence. So it refers to used to refer to the nature of God and spirit. So when he says abstract, he's not talking about the ego, basically. He's talking about the this transcendent domain of heaven, oneness, pure formless awareness. Okay, so there we go. Okay, and we can put in a little reference here. Okay, see paragraph. Where we are? Is this paragraph 3? Just have a look. Certain specific ways. Okay, paragraph 2. Okay, number 3. Do you want to read that, John? Sorry, Iona's turn, isn't it?
In contrast, spirit reacts in the same way to everything it knows is true and does not respond at all to anything else, nor does it make any attempt to establish what is true. It knows that what is true is everything that love created. It is in complete and direct communication with every aspect of creation because it is in complete and direct communication with its creator. This communication is the will of love. Creation and communication are synonymous. Love created every mind by communicating its mind to it, thus establishing it forever as a channel for the reception of its mind and will. Since only beings of a like order can truly communicate, its creations naturally communicate with it and like it. This communication is perfectly abstract since its quality is universal in application and not subject to any judgment, any exception, or any alteration. Love created you by this and for this. The mind can distort its function, but it can not endow itself with functions. It was not given. That is why the mind cannot totally lose the ability to communicate, even though it may refuse to utilize it on behalf of being. Right.
Okay.
Well, it's just laying out again for us what is concrete ego form and what is abstract abstract truth. That's never forgets anything, any aspect of creation that came straight from love, pure formless awareness. It is formless and abstract and in everything. It is in everything. Yeah. And it's also in each and every mind. Every mind was the creation, the communication and creation it means the same. So it is forever the only channel, the only true channel for reception. Only beings of a like order can truly communicate. It's creation. The abstract communication is everywhere and universal, without any judgment or exception or alteration. And pure formless awareness created us by this and for this. Our mind can play tricks with it, but it cannot endow itself with functions. It can't ever be pure formless awareness. Okay, that is why the mind cannot totally lose the ability to communicate, though it may refuse to utilize it. So I can block all attempts. That's right, I can have many blocks in the awareness, in my way that obscure love's awareness in my mind. Okay, it's a bit scrambled, but there we are.
Oh, well done.
Okay.
Just doing this as we go, so that it becomes quite a useful reference, hopefully. You can go, okay, so this is where it talks about synonymous with communication, reference to paragraph 3 of this section. Paragraph 3 of section 7, chapter 4. Okay, so yeah, any further thoughts on that? John, you happy to move on?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, and read number 4.
Existence as well as being rest on communication. Existence, however, is specific in how, what, and with whom communication is judged to be worth undertaking. Being is completely without these distinctions. It is a state in which the mind is in communication with everything that is real. To whatever extent you permit this state to be curtailed, you are limiting your sense of your own reality, which becomes total only by recognizing all reality in the glorious context of its real relationship to you. This is your reality. Do not desecrate it or recoil from it. It is your real home, your real temple, and your real self.
Okay. So anything stand out for you there?
Well, I think what is getting across here is being is essence, our essence, and that is what is real, and any effort to limit that is fruitless, albeit it can be well, it is fruitless, but yet is a way the ego tries to attack it. Existence is more temporal, more specific, and
so he's defining existence here, which is useful. We can stick that in. So existence. He's using it to denote the ego.
Yeah.
Existence rather than being. It's a non-existent existence. The state of being identified with the ego and its world. And we could say existence as well as being rest on communication. Rest on communication, but existence is specific. How, what, and with whom communication is judged to be worth undertaking. So if you think about the ego's world, it's this existence, and we go, okay, well, I need to communicate with this person because I have a specific reason to. There's a purpose for our communication, and this is not how the Holy Spirit works. It's abstract and it's all-encompassing, and the specific nature of the communication of the ego is not appropriate in beingness. It's not necessary in beingness, completely without these distinctions. Communication with everything that is real. So there's this abstract state of reality, pure formless awareness, and you're in communication with that because you are that. You experience that as your total reality, as your being. And then if you permit this to be curtailed, you're limiting your sense of your own reality, which becomes total only by recognizing all reality in the glorious context of its real relationship to you. In other words, this reality is your reality. You are this. So, in the end, you merge with it. There's no relationship at the highest level. You are it and it is you. You're not in relationship to your reality. You are it. But it starts off by a relationship. Glorious context of its real relationship to you. Because you have to start acknowledging its presence. If you've denied it, then starting to acknowledge, okay, this is true and this is real, and now I have a relationship to it. It's part of the correction of your mind, isn't it? There's no relationship to it, then you deny its existence entirely. I mean, it's just saying this is who you are. This is your reality. Do not desecrate it or recoil from it. It is your real home, your real temple, and your real self. So that's where you exist. That's your home. That's your reality. And this domain is the domain of existence. It's the ego and its world. Ego or consciousness. So he talks about consciousness as being the domain of the ego. So to be conscious, you're conscious of your existence. In course terms, it means that you're still stuck in the illusion. You're still in the dream world. To be aware of the spirit is to go outside of that framework and become aware of the abstract and eternal nature. Okay, number 5.
Pure formless awareness, who encompasses all being, created beings who have everything individually, but who want to share it to increase their joy. Nothing real can be increased except by sharing. That is why pure formless awareness created you. Divine abstraction takes joy in sharing. That is what creation means. How, what, and to whom are irrelevant, because real creation gives everything, since it can create only like itself. Remember that in the kingdom there is no difference between having and being, as there is in existence. In the state of being, the mind gives everything always. So the how, what, and to whom are ego constructs, the concrete. The false divisions that the ego makes between telling us that we are separate is false. In the state of being, the mind gives everything always. It's just reminding of that true form of limitless abundance. In that drop the ego existence.
Gives everything always.
We just see what I'm just getting a bit hazy about what mind is again. Can we have a look at the glossary?
Yeah, where's mind? Maybe I'll just search for it. Let's just do a little search. Now I find mind. State of mind, Son of God, source of the mind's right mind and vision. One mind and one will. Judgment, alter. Got a lot of mind going on here. State of mind. I don't know if we've defined it directly.
I don't think we have.
Maybe we haven't. So he uses mind with a capital M and with a small m. So stick it in there, shall we? Mind. So how do you define mind then, John?
Yeah, I'm getting a bit fuzzy about it. So I would define mind as
Have a look. So here he talks about mind, spirit.
Oh yeah, okay. Used to represent the activating agent of spirit supplying its creative energy.
So when a term is capitalized, it refers to God or Christ. The mind of God or the mind of Christ.
So when it's capitalized, it means God or Christ or pure formless awareness.
Mind of God. Yeah. It's another name for this. Mind. Right? Mind is the mind that knows itself as this, as itself. That's mind, capital M. Perfect love, pure formless awareness.
Because I mean, we use the word mind as state of thinking. You know, when we say presence of mind, state of mind, it's a presence of it. That means presence of thought, state of thinking.
Yes.
So it's so when we with a small m, it's what's going on in our heads. The state, it's the condition of our thinking.
Represent the activating agent of spirit supplying its creative energy. Interesting.
I mean, activating it.
It's kind of how it's an interpretive device. The mind allows the spirit to come through and supplies some kind of creative energy, which is still now in the domain of time and space, because energy doesn't exist in pure formless awareness. So the mind becomes the interpreter, the expresser of this energy, a bit like a lamp. You know, a lamp is necessary in order for the electricity to create light. So it becomes the activating agent of mind, supplying its creative energy. Interesting. When the term is capitalized, it refers to God or Christ. So there's two uses of it: small letter, big letter.
Yeah.
Big letter, it refers to pure formless awareness. The one self. The one self, which merges you into that pure formless awareness. That's the Christ mind, the one self. So it's an alternate to that. But lower level, he talks about your mind. And small m means you have the ability to think. And then you can use your mind in one of two ways. You can either remember the Holy Spirit, remember oneness, or you can believe in existence, the ego's existence. Okay, does that help at all?
Yeah, it helps.
Okay.
You put the term mind with a small m there, John.
Yeah.
That small mind is used to represent the activating agent. Shouldn't that be a large m?
Well, I've used it in both senses, so we've got a definition of both. Term mind, small mind, is used to represent activating agent of spirit. So we could say, i.e., the interpreter of the spirit in the world.
I mean, an activating agent is something that makes something happen, isn't it?
Yeah, an interpreter of the formless spirit. So it's pure formless awareness, but now that's interpreted by the mind in the world to create energy and movement. So you're still dealing then in an illusion. It's not ultimately true.
No.
No, actually, it's the wrong one. The clarification of terms. Remember, part of this, the terms are it's the best we can do with language, but in the end, this goes beyond language.
Yeah.
So what you're trying to go to here is an experience. The language takes you into an experience.
Yeah. An activating agent in chemistry would be something where you put, if you put if you put aluminium into hydrochloric acid, you get aluminium oxide.
Well, you have in chemistry they talk about catalysts.
Yeah.
Catalyst for reaction. You put that in, and then the reaction happens. So the mind is, as he's explaining here, the mind is an interpreter of the spirit, the pure formless spirit that doesn't do anything, but it just is. And now that interprets it, and it creates what we call energy. Well, energy implies movement.
Yeah.
Energy and movement in the world. So we interpret the spirit, and then it comes into some kind of form in this world through the interpretive function of mind.
Yeah.
When it's used with a capital, it's referring to another level of pure formless awareness, i.e. Transcendent level of pure formless. Okay, happy with that?
Yeah.
Formless awareness. Okay. One of section 1 of the clarification of terms. Okay, shall we move on to number 6 then?
Yeah.
Okay, where are we? It's your turn, John.
Bible repeatedly states that you should praise God. This hardly means that you should tell him how wonderful he is.
So just translate those.
Yeah, so the Bible repeatedly states that you should praise pure formless awareness or love. This hardly means that you should tell it how wonderful it is.
And when you say it in the neutral, it makes complete sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what? You're going to tell love itself how wonderful it is. Would you think love really needs your praise? But if you personalize and you say God, then we make the mistake. Oh, well, God is some kind of super person.
Yeah.
Who's gonna take note of our praise, and so it's much more helpful to call it an it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's clear on that one. It has no ego with which to accept such praise and no perception with which to judge it. But unless you take your part in the creation, its joy is not complete because yours is incomplete. And this it does not, and this it does know. It knows it in its own being, and its experience of its extensions, and its experience of its extension, and its experience of its extensions experience. The constant going out of his love is blocked when its channels are closed, and it is lonely when the minds it created do not communicate fully with it.
Okay. To unpack there.
Yeah. You really have to kind of get into the vocabulary and the sense of how he uses words, don't you? It's a journey. You think you're getting it, and then you find, oh no, I haven't quite got it. So what he's saying here is that you don't need to praise pure formless awareness because it won't understand what you're talking about. But it's the joy of pure formless awareness is not complete unless your joy is complete, and that it does have a sense of. But how would it have a sense of it? Because it is just is, isn't it?
Just is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's lonely. It's lonely when the minds are created. So he's using a bit of poetic license here.
Yeah. Because it can't actually be lonely.
No, because loneliness implies separation, doesn't it?
It does.
So what he's trying to say here is that this presence needs you. It's calling you. Right? So from our perspective, we might, that can be a helpful idea. That okay, God Himself, pure formless awareness, is calling me, and it needs me. It's lonely, and so it's a call to our minds to return. Notice He used a small mind there, when the minds He created do not communicate fully with Him. So these are now minds that are seemingly separated. And so, in truth, if you look at this on our diagram, we think we separated, and so from our perception, we could go, "Oh well, God is lonely without us," but in truth, we are lonely without it, and we feel the separation. And then there's this call to return to it, and this is what he's referring to. The poetic license is a call to return to pure formless awareness. So, well, God is lonely without you, wants you to merge with it. Another way of looking at that is it's who you really are, and it's gonna stream through into your awareness, because that's what you are, and it cannot not be there. It's always going to be there in your mind. So it's this call to go within and deepen into it, and merge with it. He's using poetic license here, which can be confusing, but what he's trying to do, remember, is he's trying to get us to change our minds. That's what he's trying to do with all of this. So it's like, okay, whatever works, whatever words, whatever concepts, whatever language is going to work to get you to change your mind, then, that's what he's using. It's a poetic license. So when his channels are closed, so if we closed off and we have a belief in separation, then this cannot stream into our awareness, and our minds seem to be separate and living in this separated identity. And this pure formless awareness, because it's the truth, is wants to, when we use again language, wants to, well, it doesn't really want anything. You see, that's just that's language. It doesn't really want anything. It just is, right? If that's the very isness and the foundation of your being, then that's you cannot suppress that. It's going to stream through into your awareness. It's going to keep knocking at the door of this idea of separation and the separate consciousness you've invented, and it's going to keep coming in because it's the very foundation of your mind. And then we say, well, God wants you to hear Him. Well, that's not really true, is it? So it's language. God doesn't want anything. Pure formless awareness just is what it is, and because it's the foundation of what you are, it must arise in your awareness. It's there all the time. It's knocking at the door, not trying. Again, we use language, but it's very hard to express this. It's not trying. It just is, and it's streaming through into your awareness. And then the only question is, will you allow it or not? Okay, happy with that?
Yep.
Number 7.
Pure formless awareness has kept your kingdom for you, but it cannot share its joy with you until you know it with your whole mind. Revelation is not enough because it is only communication from God, from pure formless awareness. Pure formless awareness does not need revelation returned to it, which would clearly be impossible, but it does want it brought to others. This cannot be done with the actual revelation. Its content cannot be expressed because it is intensely personal to the mind that receives it. It can, however, be returned by that mind to other minds through the attitudes the knowledge from the revelation brings. So I need a bit of a reminder about the revelation, because it's from source, isn't it? It's the purest communication from source.
Yeah.
correct?
Streaming into your awareness.
Okay, right.
So it's pure formless awareness, essentially, coming into your awareness as your awareness, and that's all that's there. In a revelation, there's nothing else.
Yeah.
There we go. Revelation is an experience. Do you want to read that?
Revelation is an experience of pure formless awareness in which the sense perceptions disappear and the mind is not conscious of the body or the world at all. An extended period of grace. I like that. Like that then. Revelation. An extended period of grace. Nice.
Typically, the idea of a revelation is it's some deeper. It's not just a transit. It's not like just a few seconds. It's something a little bit deeper.
Yes.
Might last for a while. Although in revelation you wouldn't really be conscious of time, so there would be no time. So you might go into that state for an hour or two and not have any idea how long you were there for.
Okay.
That's sort of the experience that I've read about. Honestly, I haven't had an extended period of it. I've had a glimpse of it. This is like, wow, that's amazing. Just pure formless awareness. So I'm conscious. I think the idea of a revelation is when you're not unconscious. It's not like you're sleeping.
Yeah.
You're actually conscious and you're aware, but it's just light. The body drops away, and it's just an experience of the isness of yourself as pure formless awareness. That's what it is. And there's nothing specific about it. As you said, it's intensely personal to the mind that receives it.
Yes.
So God does not need revelation returned to him. Pure formless awareness is complete unto itself. In other words, it would clearly be impossible because it's coming from the source of pure formless awareness. But it does, again, he used want it brought to others. So he's trying to use language. It's the foundation. It's the nature of every mind. So that mind wants to, if you want to put it in language, be known by its extensions. And we can use language and say it wants. It's what he's doing. But how else do you express it? It's very hard, isn't it? God wants, but God doesn't really want anything. But how else do you say it? So it's the difficulty of using language, which is dualistic, to describe what is beyond duality. It's non-dual.
Yeah.
But he does a pretty good job, I think.
Yeah.
Because the language is pointing us in the right direction. That's the whole point. He's trying to use the language to awaken our minds to the experience of the revelation that he's talking to, that he's pointing us to. And then from that revelation, we can then go and communicate to other minds.
That's just what I was going to say. It's asking us to speak and share from the whole of one mind to another, although there is only one mind.
And you see, any a teacher, great teacher like a Jesus or Buddha, they had their experiences. They had the revelation experience.
Yeah.
And then they taught from that experience, and they brought it to other minds. They couldn't give them the direct experience, but they could teach about it. They could say, well, they could point people to it, encourage them to go there themselves.
Yes.
And have that experience.
Because Jesus had the human experience, he has to speak in this language of duality in order that we can understand it.
Yeah. Well, if you couldn't use language, how could you teach? So difficult. I mean, because you've got to describe things. I mean, how would you then? You have to use language.
It's useful, isn't it, to dig underneath it, because he's saying that language is insufficient. You've got to feel and know this stuff. It just is.
And that's what the revelation is. It's a revelation because it's a revelation in your own experience.
Yeah.
You know this, and I've had an experience of pure formless awareness. It wasn't very long. Maybe it doesn't qualify as a revelation. Maybe it does. I mean, what's the qualification? How long does it have to be? I don't know. I don't think there's any hard and fast rule. But there was certainly an experience of, oh, wow, that's just so pure, just pure, holy, all these words try and point to it. They try and describe that experience. And then it's an experience. That's what revelation is. As he said, it cannot be expressed in words meaningfully. How do you express that which has no name, which is ineffable and formless, and put it into words? Can't do it. But you can teach from that place of revelation. You can now teach other minds, and you can teach them this kind of thought system. You can teach them how to train their minds to prepare themselves for revelation. So you can teach changing perception. You can teach miracle-mindedness, right-mindedness. That you can teach. You prepare them for the revelation, which you cannot teach them. That's their experience. And it will come when they're ready. Okay? Happy with that? John, number 8.
God, pure formless awareness, is praised whenever any mind learns to be wholly helpful. This is impossible without being wholly harmless, because the two beliefs must coexist. The truly helpful are invulnerable because they are not protecting their egos, and so nothing can hurt them. Their helpfulness is their praise of God, pure formless awareness, and it will return their praise of it because they are like it, and they can rejoice together. God goes out to them, pure formless awareness extends to them and through them, and there is great joy throughout all beings, throughout the whole of existence.
Well, just stick with the kingdom.
The whole of, throughout being.
The domain, the kingdom is really the domain of pure formless awareness, I guess you could say.
Every mind that is changed adds to this joy with its individual willingness to share in it. The truly helpful are God's pure formless awareness miracle workers, whom I direct until we are all united in the joy of.
Could just say pure formless awareness.
Pure formless awareness. I will direct you to wherever you can be truly. I will direct you to wherever you can be truly helpful, and to whoever can follow my guidance through you. So we've got this praise going on in this paragraph, which is a bit peculiar because that's also, God can't really be praised.
Well, again, he's using language and poetic license.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. The true praise is what he's saying is when any mind learns to be wholly helpful.
Yeah.
And that's when you're praising God. I'll give you a classic example of this. We once did a holotropic healing session with a guy who was in some distress, and he had a lot of guilt. He'd murdered various people as part of the whole apartheid thing. And as you could just see, he was racked with guilt. So we did this holotropic breathing and healing. And then at the end of it, he was quite emotional. So he wanted to speak. And he was kind of like saying, he was tears in his eyes. And so I just sat with him and I chatted to him a bit. And this colleague of mine was going into some kind of praise of the Holy Spirit ritual that she liked to do. And then afterwards, she was very frosty. And I said, okay, look, Janice, what's the story? Just come out with it. What's the problem? I thought that went quite well. And she said, no, you were disrespectful to the Holy Spirit. I was giving praise to the Holy Spirit, and you were disrespectful. And it was like a total misunderstanding of what the Holy Spirit is and what God is. Because God doesn't need your praise. You don't need to do some elaborate ritual. God is praised whenever any mind learns to be wholly helpful. So I was trying to help the guy. What he actually wanted was to talk and just someone to listen. That's praising God, not giving some elaborate praise ritual song, which she liked to do. That was her own ego's invention, her own misinterpretation of what the Holy Spirit and what God is. So I hope that example clarifies it.
Yeah.
Nothing specific, and God really doesn't need your praise, but God is praised. You are honoring God or pure formless awareness when you are wholly helpful, because you're allowing the essence to come through and to express through you and to extend through you into the world, which is what God wants, in inverted commas. This presence gets spread into the world through you as the channel. So your helpfulness is your praise of God, which talks directly to the idea of higher purpose. You don't praise God and worship God. You give service to others. That's your praise, and that's how you serve God. You serve others. You allow love, pure formless awareness, to come through you and extend through you into the minds of others, and then it will return their praise of it because they are like it, and they can rejoice together. Well, as you honor pure formless awareness, you honor love, and you allow it to come through you, then you experience more of it. That's what this language is trying to say. You experience that you are that presence, and the separation just disappears, and you recognize, I am that. I am that presence. If you allow it to extend through you all the time, then you are it. It is you. There's no separation anymore. That's where he's pointing us. So God or love goes out to everyone through you. There's great joy throughout the kingdom, because as people awaken to this pure formless awareness, their minds experience joy. And every mind that's changed adds to this joy. So it's a collective arising of joy, returning back to oneness, and truly helpful are the miracle workers of pure formless awareness, whom I direct until we're all united in the joy of the kingdom. In the joy of this, I'm not sure we actually define kingdom. So maybe we should just do that if we haven't. Kingdom, yeah, nothing. Okay. So we can add that in. Distance. Kingdom is the domain of pure formless awareness or love. And that only. Okay, so it's pure formless and that only. So it's a non-dual. The ego has been undone. Okay, so that brings us to the end, I think. Any questions or comments on that section? What were the key takeaways? John, any ideas? Just a minute, like what did you get out of this? A couple of key ideas. Shall I help you out?
I think the key idea, I think, is that the desire of pure formless awareness to extend through us, and for us to
Well, why don't you look at the text? It might help you. So he
Yeah,
talks
yeah.
about communication and creation. That's the theme. So that's the first few paragraphs about this communication. Communication is creation versus existence, being specific, and that's of the ego. But this is abstract thought. So communication, creation, abstract thought are one thing. That was a key idea. And then he's saying, in the kingdom, there's really no difference between having and being. He talks about revelation. So that's revelation of our minds when we go into pure formless awareness. Is intensely personal, but we can express that by being truly helpful to our brothers. We cannot give them that experience, but we can help prepare them for that experience by sharing our experience. And that is how we really give praise to God. So there's no praise that God or pure formless awareness needs or wants, but it just wants to extend through us. So he uses the word praise. Again, it's poetic license. God is praised whenever any mind learns to be wholly helpful. It's trying to get us to see that this is the true praise and the true worship of God. The true worship is to allow love to extend through you into the world and help people to connect with it. And you give worship to the spirit only. And you become its agent in the service of it in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he wants you to do. So-called, that's what pure formless awareness wants you to do. It doesn't really want you to do. It doesn't have any personal ego to want anything, you see. The same logic is applied here. No, there's no, the God has no ego with which to accept praise. Hardly means that you should tell him how wonderful he is. So in the same way, it doesn't really want you to do anything. But there is a power that's coming through. It's the foundation of your mind that feels like a wanting. It feels like a calling. It feels like an impulse to do something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So however you interpret that, you've got to use language to try and explain what's inexplicable, really.
My own intent, truly helpful.
So any questions on that? Should we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Okay, so just a minute. Close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath in. And just breathe in this pure formless awareness, the kingdom of heaven, the abstract nature of reality, whatever you want to call it. It's a presence in your mind. Breathe it in, invite it in, feel it in your heart, feel it in your mind, accept it in, feel the gratitude for it. But it's there always, just calling you to listen, to wake up to its presence, to allow it to express through you, extend through you into the world, to be a miracle worker, to be truly helpful to your brothers who are deprived of this awareness. They have cut themselves off from it and live in this hellish state of separation from it. So they believe they are separate, they are alone, they are afraid. And yet you can help them out of this by living this pure formless awareness, by allowing it to extend through you, to be guided in all your thoughts, words, and actions, to extend it into the world. So it is said and so it is done. So just anchor the state in, feel the expansiveness, the joy, and carry it with you into the rest of your evening and on into tomorrow. So it is said and so it is done. And namaste, everyone. Thank you.
Namaste. Many thanks, Jono.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Joe.
I'll see you tomorrow.